Trump ally and powerful billionaire Elon Musk posted and then deleted what was a dangerous hypothetical question about assassination attempts of officials in the wake of the apparent assassination attempt against Donald Trump. The White House condemned this move as irresponsible. It is the kind of thing the Secret Service would typically investigate, though they have not confirmed publicly how they're reacting to this, and Musk had to take it down. Elon Musk, who at one point was kind of celebrated for his innovation and his obvious contributions to the space of alternative energy, green cars, all that stuff, has now become a fixture in our campaign cycle. He is in the conversation. He has endorsed Trump, and one of the most sort of freewheeling, powerful, internet amplified individuals in the MAGA conversation, quoted more than many prominent elected Republicans. The Wall Street Journal reports that Musk is after big game beyond all of his financial power. He wants to, quote, make men great again, as the Journal put it, and describing his wider efforts as part of this so-called masculine bro culture. This has been, of course, a long time part of Republican politics, but it has shifted in this MAGA era. And then there's something that they're calling the broligarchs, Silicon Valley tech bros, quote unquote, who are aligned with Trump in a very direct way, which would have been thought really unimaginable if you go back to 2014 or 2015, when those people fashioned themselves as smart, real business people and viewed Donald Trump as a joke or a dangerous joke. Trump has leaned into this image, and he is doing it in the ways that often people miss out on. I'm showing you footage of something we reported on recently where he was with Aiden Ross, a huge figure in streaming culture with more viewers than many television shows. And other podcasters have come on the stage with Trump in the past 2 weeks, endorsing him and lending their platform and its sort of younger buzz to this old school campaign. Trump likewise uses Musk's Twitter, now known as X. He participated in an interview on the Spaces function on X just last night. I want to play some of how the two have discussed their relationship through the platform Musk purchased.
I have to tell you, Elon is doing a fantastic job. He's my friend. He endorsed me for president, like, so strongly. It was incredible. But he is doing an amazing job with respect to space. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone.
On the one hand, you could say this is just a phone call, like a conference call that has been blasted out. It's not exactly the highest level tech that Elon Musk could come up with. On the other hand, as a political matter, you have these two powerful people having this conversation in public as part of campaigning. Politico asking whether Musk would become a true American oligarch in a second Trump administration. There are, of course, a lot of business interests and conflicts here, Tesla and SpaceX. Musk bought and sort of rebranded Twitter. And again, for the people around Trump and Musk who say that Elon Musk is good at business and that's why he should be involved in other things, this is very common in Silicon Valley. People's business or tech acumen is cited as a reason to listen to them on other things. But it turns out Elon Musk's approach to Twitter was not only poor business, not only a business failure, but, according to the experts, the worst deal for American banks since literally the financial crisis.
Twitter, now X, it is the worst deal in the Musk universe and lost 70% of its value, according to OneMark. It's the banks holding the bag. The worst buyout for banks since the 08-09 financial crisis.
It's valued at less than $19 billion.
The social media platform's ad revenue has fallen significantly in the U.S. since Musk's takeover last year.
Unmitigated disaster.
The banks have their backs against the wall, basically.
These are financial facts. Those are financial experts, and that's the data, and the numbers bear it out. So not everyone thinks that people who are good at business should be put in charge of everything else. But even for the proto-business Wall Street, Silicon Valley types who say that, Elon Musk recently has not been good at business and not good at X. And this is an environment where the rich get richer and get bailed out. If you are a regular person who doesn't have the access to the finance and capital as Elon Musk, why would you think it's a good thing for the banks or the government backstop behind them to continue to fund these kind of billionaire antics? I will show you the exact number. Since Musk took over, Twitter, or now X's valuation, didn't fall by $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion. It's fallen over $24 billion. A major business failure. And Trump is tied to Musk. And both of them seem to operate often as much on the appearance, the hype, or even the lie about their business records and acumen as much as the reality. So why does this matter right now, as Elon Musk had to take the rare step of backing off a statement on his own platform because it was clearly seen as hyping the kind of misinformation or musings that could lead to political violence? I thought of you for this report, and you've been separately working on thinking about these issues, because it's not just another rich person aligned with a politician. That's a story as old as time. Why is this different?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about why Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy. I would argue Elon Musk is a unique threat to democracy. Elon Musk is the most powerful person in the world who is not a head of state. Since he bought Twitter, in terms of his net worth, he has lost $176 billion. That is the gross domestic product of Hungary. He has done that over the last 2 years, but he still has billions more, and he's on track to become the world's first trillionaire by 2027. When you have that much money, the normal incentive structure does not apply.
Right.
You know, no rules or regulations can be constructed when you have that much money that he can't get around. He can hire the best lawyers. He can hire the best lobbyists. He can elect politicians who will do his bidding. It is extremely dangerous to have an individual with that kind of money and that kind of influence doing it all on behalf of a worldview. I mean, when you think about it, Elon Musk is a Bond supervillain. I mean, he is a guy who is a non-state actor who has infinite wealth and massive destructive intent. I mean, when I saw those movies, I thought those were cartoons. I don't think it's so outlandish anymore.